Every single year when the Grammys roll around, the internet goes into, let's call it a spiritual overdrive. Suddenly, everyone online becomes a part-time demonologist, a pop culture detective, and a theologian with a minor in Illuminati studies. Because apparently, to win a Grammy, you can't just have talent, marketing, a good PR team. Oh no. No. According to the internet, you must sell your soul, sign a contract with the devil, join a secret society, sacrifice your sanity, and attend a few midnight rituals behind the Hollywood sign. Honestly, if this was the entry requirement for the music industry, half of us would have been famous already. But jokes aside, these theories are everywhere, and they stick. It's almost like we want to believe there's something supernatural going on behind the Grammys. And if we're being honest, the theatrics don't exactly help. Fire, horns, religious symbolism, cryptic imagery. It's basically a conspiracy theorist buffet. Today, we are diving into why so many people believe celebrities have to make some kind of dark deal to achieve success, especially at events like the Grammys. We will look at where the sell your soul myth actually came from, why Beyonce and Jay-Z became the king and queen of the Illuminati, the most infamous Satanic Grammys performances and what those symbols really mean, why Avril, my queen, was accused of being replaced by a clone named Melissa. Yes, we will talk about it, don't worry. The Reptilian shapeshifter theory, yes, including the Justin Bieber lizard eyes moment, and the psychology behind why our brains love these theories so much. And throughout this, we're going to keep it balanced. I'm not here to mock anyone's beliefs or convince you the Illuminati meets at Starbucks on Thursdays. We are just going to explore how and why these ideas became such a huge part of celebrity culture. Before we do get into that though, I do just want to say I have been sick for the last week, so I'm so sorry that I sound like this. Has it been 3 minutes? Yep, it has. I sound like shit, so, and I felt like shit for the last week, so apologies. Yeah, I just really wanted to film this video, so I couldn't wait any longer. My bad. And also just a quick welcome if you are new, and welcome back if you are not new. Hey. How's it going? Don't forget to give it a like and subscribe if you enjoy, okay? Anyway, enough yapping from me. Let's continue. So why are we talking about this now? First of all, the timing. The Grammys are everywhere right now. It is Grammy season, which means these theories are again thriving. If you go on TikTok, Instagram, X, YouTube, people aren't debating who deserves to win. They're analyzing hand signs, stage lighting, outfits, lyrics, and who thanked Beyonce. Second, these theories say more about us than about celebrities. Actually, according to Dr. Joseph Uscinski, I'm hoping I say that right, an expert on conspiracy belief, people are drawn to conspiracies that help to explain power, fame, and success, especially when it feels too big or too sudden to be natural. Fame doesn't feel accessible or logical to most of us, so we create stories to make it make sense. And those stories have range, like Grammy ritual Illuminati clone lizard range. Like, it's huge. This video isn't here to tell you you're dumb for believing something or to say everything online is fake. Stop having fun. I'm just here to explore where these ideas came from, understand why people believe them, separate symbolism, marketing, and performance art from literal occult rituals, and maybe laugh at some of the more creative theories along the way. Some parts of this are fascinating, some are funny, and some are genuinely reflective of deeper societal issues. And at least once, I bet you'll go, okay, I kind of see why people think that's weird. You know, so let's start at the very beginning, before Beyonce, before TikTok detectives, before clone rumors and lizard people, with the origin story of the sell your soul for fame myth and the musician who became the blueprint for all of this. Because our journey begins appropriately at a crossroads. Music has always had a reputation for being a little rebellious, especially when religion got involved, because nothing makes something more tempting than being told that it's sinful. That's just human nature 101. For centuries, the church viewed certain types of music as dangerous, seductive, or morally corrupting. And honestly, considering how some people act at concerts, they might have been onto something. But long before rock stars were smashing guitars and rappers were being accused of summoning demons for award shows, music itself was seen as a gateway to temptation. Historically, the Christian church approved of music only when it praised God. Anything else? Suspicious. Potentially evil. A one-way ticket to eternal damnation, or at least a stern talking to from a priest. This is where the idea of the devil's music started to take shape. In medieval Europe, certain instruments, rhythms, and dance styles were labelled as sinful because they encouraged passion, dancing, human emotion. And apparently, the devil hates when you're sad, but loves when you're having fun. Who knew? By the 1700s and 1800s, anything that wasn't hymns or opera started getting a dodgy reputation. Folk music, travelling musicians, tavern songs, all considered a little too worldly, a little too free, like they were leading people astray. Fast forward, and that same fear attached itself to jazz, then blues, then rock and roll, and then hip hop. Different century, same panic, just with better instruments. A study from the Journal of Religion and Popular Culture notes that moral panics around music often reflect society's fear of youth rebellion and loss of control. Translation: whenever young people start enjoying music too much, adults assume Satan is involved. And this brings us to one of the most famous legends in music history. The moment the idea of selling your soul to the devil officially entered the chat. Because to talk about this myth, we need to go to the American South, to the birth of blues, and to a man who was so talented, people literally refused to believe he got that good on his own. Enter Robert Johnson. Robert Johnson was a blues musician in the 1930s whose guitar skills were so unreal they almost didn't make sense. People who heard him play swore he had supernatural talent, like no human should be able to do that levels of talent. According to the legend, Robert Johnson went down to a crossroads at midnight, met the devil, and traded his soul for musical genius. The devil turned his guitar, handed it back, and boom, Robert Johnson became a blues icon. Now, did this actually happen? There's no evidence, no proof, no midnight selfie with the devil. But the rumor stuck, because people struggle to understand the extraordinary talent without an extraordinary explanation. Music historian Elijah Wald, in his book on Johnson, explains that the myth didn't appear until after Robert had died, created and romanticized by white fans who wanted a spooky gothic origin for the mysterious black bluesmen. So yes, the tale has racial roots and exploitation baked into it. But regardless of where it came from, this story became the blueprint for every soul-selling conspiracy that followed. It was the first time the idea went mainstream that a musician's success wasn't just talent and hard work. It was a deal with the devil. And once that seed was planted, people never let it go. It resurfaced in the 1950s with rock and roll, then again with heavy metal, then pop stars, then rappers. And now, every time someone successful performs on stage with red lighting, a horn prop, or a triangle, the internet says, "Yep, that's Satan's favourite employee." So before Grammys, rituals, and Illuminati rumours existed, we had this one man at a crossroads, a guitar, and a legend that would define how we view suspiciously successful musicians forever. And that leads us into how this soul-selling myth evolved into modern celebrity culture, especially when it comes to fame, fortune, and awards like the Grammys. Because once the idea was out there that musicians could trade their soul for success, the next logical step became believing someone was granting that success. A powerful group, a secret society with connections, influence, money, and a taste for symbolism. Which brings us to the modern era's favourite villains, the Illuminati. Before we talk about Beyonce and Jay-Z being crowned the Illuminati king and queen by the internet, we need to answer one question. What even is the Illuminati? Because people throw that word around like confetti at a cult-themed birthday party, and most of the time they're talking about something that never actually existed. Let's start with the real Illuminati. The original Illuminati was a real group founded in 1776 in Bavaria, Germany, by a law professor named Adam Weishaupt. I think that's how you say it. But plot twist, it wasn't a satanic cult. It wasn't a celebrity club. It wasn't a group performing rituals under the full moon while Beyonce levitates. It was actually a private book club for intellectuals who believed in things like logic, equality, freedom of speech, and separating government from the church. So, not exactly the vibe TikTok promised. Of course, powerful institutions didn't love a group of educated people encouraging independent thought, so the Illuminati was banned and shut down within a decade. As far as real history goes, that's the end of it. No Grammys, no pop stars, no lizard shapeshifters, just philosophy nerds with candles. But that was only the beginning of the myth, because after the group dissolved, whispers of a secret society controlling the world didn't disappear. They evolved. Over the next 2 centuries, the Illuminati became the perfect villain to blame for everything people couldn't explain. Revolutions, political change, cultural shifts, and eventually, fame. Then, in the 1970s and 1990s, conspiracy authors revived the Illuminati concept, but darker. They blended it with Freemason symbolism, satanic panic, fears about government mind control, and the idea of a new world order secretly running society. That's when the Illuminati transformed into the version we know today. Not a historical club, but a shadowy, powerful elite controlling media, politics, wealth, and the entertainment industry. And when the internet arrived, it exploded. Suddenly, every triangle, checkerboard floor, red light, goat reference, and one-eye pose became Illuminati confirmed. So today when people say the Illuminati, they don't mean Adam and his Enlightenment book club. They mean a secret global organization that allegedly chooses who becomes famous, requires soul selling or loyalty rituals, controls award shows, the music industry, the media, uses occult symbolism in performances and videos, punishes anyone who doesn't comply. It's basically the final boss theory of fame. Does any of this have verified proof? No, not a shred. But as a myth, it's powerful, dramatic, and honestly, weirdly entertaining. And in pop culture, every myth needs a royal family, which is how the internet decided that the Illuminati needed a king and queen, and it chose Beyonce and Jay-Z. So let's talk about the couple that the internet has collectively decided runs the Illuminati, the music industry, the Grammys, the economy, the weather, and possibly the afterlife. Beyonce and Jay-Z. If you've ever gone down a conspiracy rabbit hole even once, you'll know these two sit at the very top of the they must be in a secret society pyramid. Literally. People draw pyramids on their photos. Now, quick disclaimer, Beyonce and Jay-Z have never claimed to be in the Illuminati. There is zero proof. They are just extremely successful, extremely influential, and extremely fun for the internet to overanalyze. But the question is, why them? Out of all celebrities, why did these two become the king and queen of the Illuminati? Well, there are a few reasons. Reason number 1 is power couple energy. They're not just famous individually, they're powerful together. Beyonce is one of the most awarded musicians of all time. Jay-Z is one of the wealthiest figures in the music industry. When two incredibly influential people join forces, the public brain doesn't go, wow, that's what happens when hard-working, talented people collaborate. No, it goes, Secret society confirmed, because humans don't trust power they can't access or understand. Reason number 2 is symbolism, baby. Beyonce and Jay-Z use a lot of artistic symbolism in their music and imagery, which is great for art, but terrible for avoiding conspiracy theories. Jay-Z's Rock Nation hand symbol, the diamond shape, people said, that ain't a diamond, that's the Illuminati pyramid. It's literally a branding gesture for his label, but okay. Illuminati is cheaper to trend on TikTok. Then you have Beyonce's Sasha Fierce era, which came with darker visuals, alter ego concepts, and dramatic performances. And because the internet loves to skip 12 logical steps and sprint straight into demonology, people said Sasha Fierce is her possessed demon form. Imagine working on your performance persona for months and the internet goes, cute, is that your demon? I would quit. Reason number 3 is no one can be that good. Naturally. There is a long, messy history of people struggling to accept black excellence without a supernatural explanation, especially in Western media. This is where the conspiracy stops being funny and starts touching on bias. Many experts, including conspiracy culture researchers, point out that black artists often face more occult-based conspiracy accusations than white artists of the same fame level, because society historically had a harder time accepting that a black person could rise to extreme power, influence, and success without something shady behind it. So Beyonce and Jay-Z became easy targets for this narrative. Too talented, too influential, too powerful. Therefore, must be magical, demonic, or part of a top secret organization. It's not the only reason these conspiracies took off, but it also fueled them. Reason number 4, they don't feed the rumors, which kind of makes it worse. Beyonce and Jay-Z rarely address the Illuminati conspiracies directly, and silence online equals permission for people to make up their own lore. The one time Beyonce referenced it publicly, she laughed and said, "Y'all are so stupid," which honestly, fair. But that tiny acknowledgement fed the internet for years. Because if there's one thing conspiracy theorists love, it's a celebrity saying no in a way that can be interpreted as yes, but secretly. Oh, stop it, thank you. I'd like to thank my mum, my subscribers, my cat for emotional support, and of course, Beyonce. Please don't spite me. I love you, girl. So Beyonce and Jay-Z became the faces of the Illuminati, not because of evidence, but because people needed a royal couple for the narrative. But then the theory evolved. It wasn't enough to assume they were in power. The internet added a new rule. To succeed in the music industry, you must pay your respects publicly, on stage, during speeches, which brings us to the thank you Beyonce rule, where some people genuinely believe that not thanking Beyonce at an award show can ruin your career, or, in the darkest version, lead to tragedy. And yes, this is where the Aliyah rumor enters the chat. So, once Beyonce became the unofficial Illuminati queen of the music industry in the eyes of the internet, the conspiracy evolved. It wasn't enough to believe Beyonce had power. People started saying you needed to acknowledge that power publicly on stage, in front of witnesses. Thus was born the very dramatic superstition known as the thank you Beyonce rule. If you've watched enough award shows, you've probably noticed that a lot of artists, especially newer or younger musicians, will slip Beyonce's name into their acceptance speeches, even when she's not even in the category, or involved, or even present. And look, Beyonce is inspirational. She's changed the industry. If I won an award, I'd probably thank her too, just out of reflex. But on the internet, this became a survival tactic, not a compliment. The theory claims that thanking Beyonce is like showing respect to the queen so she doesn't end your career, like a superstition, almost like theatre kid Macbeth rules, but make it Grammys. If you don't thank Beyonce, that's when people say the curse kicks in. Now, most people online treat this theory as a joke, a meme, a haha Beyonce controls the Grammys moment. But like every conspiracy, the internet has a darker version. There is a circulating rumor especially on TikTok and older conspiracy forums, tying this superstition to the late singer Aaliyah. The claim suggests that Aaliyah didn't align with or respect certain powerful figures in the music industry, sometimes framed as not showing deference to Beyonce, and that this supposedly led to industry retaliation. Let's be very clear here. There is zero evidence of this. Aaliyah's passing was a tragic plane crash caused by overloaded aircraft weight and pilot error, confirmed by investigation. It had nothing to do with Beyonce. The two were not rivals, and Beyonce had no involvement in Aaliyah's career or death. This rumor is an example of the internet retrofitting a tragedy to a conspiracy. It gives the rule a cautionary tale. It's storytelling, not truth, but it spreads because stories like this act as proof for people who already believe that the industry is controlled by hidden forces. Sociologist Gary Fine explains that conspiracy folklore survives by attaching itself to real events, especially emotional ones, because it makes the theory feel grounded and harder to dismiss. And when a beloved young star dies suddenly, especially one as talented and influential as Aaliyah, fans search for meaning, for why, for a villain, for a reason beyond randomness. Conspiracies fill that void. So when discussing this, it's important to separate internet lore from real life. Aaliyah deserves to be remembered for her artistry, not as a character in someone's Illuminati fanfiction. So why do people cling to the thank you Beyonce superstition? 3 reasons. 1. It's funny. Memes make conspiracies easier to swallow. 2. It mimics ritual behavior, like tossing salt over your shoulder. 3. It reinforces the narrative of Beyonce as the all-powerful industry queen, which makes the Illuminati storyline more compelling. Symbolically, thanking Beyonce keeps her at the center of the cultural mythology. It's a ritual, even if done jokingly. So we've now covered how Beyonce and Jay-Z became the Illuminati royal couple, why people believe you must publicly show respect to Beyonce, and how a tragic real-world event got twisted into evidence. But the Illuminati isn't the only celebrity conspiracy fans are obsessed with. If Beyonce is the queen of the Illuminati, then the next conspiracy we're diving into is the celebrities get replaced cinematic universe. And no one is more iconic in that storyline than the pop-punk princess herself, Avril freaking Lavigne. Alright, it's time. Let's talk about the conspiracy theory that defined the internet's emo era, the Avril Lavigne Melissa clone theory. To understand why this theory hit so hard, we need to go back to the early 2000s. Picture it now. MySpace profiles blaring autoplay music, MSN status updates with sad lyrics, LimeWire giving your family computer 32 viruses so you could listen to complicated, chunky highlights, studded belts, hot topic wristbands. It was a cultural reset. And at the center of it all was Avril Lavigne. She wasn't like the polished pop girls of the time. She was different, a skater girl, a little messy, a little rebellious. Avril wasn't just a singer, she was an identity for a generation of teens who didn't fit the bubblegum pop mold. So when someone becomes that important to people's adolescent core memories, fans get protective. This will matter later. Avril blew up with her first 2 albums, Let Go in 2002 and Under My Skin in 2004. Huge success. Global tours, a genuinely massive fan base. Then things changed. Around 2007, fans noticed a shift. Avril's image became a little bit more glam, more polished, more pop. Her voice sounded a little different. Her fashion changed, but only slightly. She smiled more in photos. She wasn't as angsty. And honestly, she looked happier. For some fans, this was normal artistic growth. For others, this was a red flag, because the internet loves to do one of 2 things when a woman changes her hair or vibe. Call it a new era, or assume she's been replaced cloned, possessed, or trapped in a bunker. There is no in between. The Avril clone conspiracy started circulating in the early 2010s on a Brazilian fan blog. It spread onto Tumblr, then YouTube, and eventually became one of the most viral celebrity conspiracy theories ever. They claim that Avril Lavigne died in the early 2000s, and her record label secretly replaced her with a lookalike named Melissa to keep the brand alive. No funeral, no public announcement, just a quiet swap of pop-punk princesses, like a glitch in The Sims. The theory gained traction because people online began comparing then versus now photos of Avril, like they were solving a crime. They pointed to differences in her nose, jawline, handwriting, height, and even her moles, because God forbid a woman change her skincare routine, lighting, or makeup. But people weren't just analysing her appearance. The theory spiraled into deeper symbolic clues, hidden messages in lyrics, album covers, music videos, and photo shoots. Things like her handwriting autograph looking different, her posing differently in photos, her music becoming more upbeat, less I'm with you in the rain, more hey you, I don't like your girlfriend, which, if we're being honest, was a cultural jump that confused all of us. But fans who struggled with Avril's shift from moody alt-rock to hyper-pop punk saw it as something more than growth. They saw it as evidence. So at this point, the theory had a plot, a villain, a victim, and a replacement. But the internet needed more. It needed receipts. Which brings us to the evidence people still point to today, and why this theory spread far beyond a small blog and into global pop culture folklore. Alright, let's unpack the so-called evidence that people still use to claim Avril was replaced by her double Melissa. And look, I love a good mystery board moment as much as anyone, but some of these clues are a stretch. Exhibit A, the handwriting and autograph proof. One of the most shared receipts is that Avril's autograph changed over time. The theory says Melissa's handwriting slipped and fans caught it. Now, handwriting can change, especially when you age, you sign things 10,000 times, or you're literally just a human person evolving. If we compared our handwriting at 13 versus 30, half of us would look like we were also replaced by someone who sleeps less and pays taxes. Exhibit B, oh my god, she looks different. Fans pointed out changes in Avril's face, height, jawline, smile, freckles, moles, everything. But here's the thing, humans look different over time, especially with makeup trends changing, access to better skincare, styling teams, cameras, braces, dental work, lighting, and, aging. Also, Avril was a literal teenager when she got famous. If you don't look different from 17 to 30, you're the conspiracy, and drop me your skincare routine, please. If anything, Melissa would deserve an award for consistency. Exhibit C, the fact that the music changed. This is a big emotional one. Fans loved the raw, angsty Avril who sat in baggy pants outside a skate park and made us feel seen. Then suddenly, glitter, neon, cheerleader vibes. That tone whiplash was real. But here's the truth. Artists evolve. Labels push different sounds. The industry changes. People grow up. We can't expect Avril to stay frozen in 2002 singing in the rain with smudged eyeliner forever, even if that version lives rent-free in our hearts. Exhibit D, the photo clues. The theory claims that there are hidden clues in photo shoots and album covers. Example, in one shoot, Avril has the word Melissa written on her hand. Context. This was widely debunked as a fan edit or misinterpretation. Now, let's address the core of this theory. There is no credible evidence that Avril Lavigne died or was replaced. None. Avril has addressed this multiple times, calmly, with humor, and sometimes with I literally don't know what to say to that energy. She's alive. She's making music. she's touring. She's spoken directly about this rumor and finds it bizarre and upsetting, which is understandable. Most experts who have studied this theory point to parasocial grief and the difficulty fans have when a celebrity outgrows the version of them that fans attach to, especially when that celebrity was someone fans personally identified with during a vulnerable or formative time. Here is the interesting part, and why this theory matters. The Avril theory wasn't just a meme, it was a coping mechanism. Media and cultural studies experts say that fans created Melissa as a way to protect the original Avril in their minds, because it's easier to believe. My Avril, the real Avril, didn't change. She's gone, and this cheerful pop version is a clone, than to accept my favourite artist grew up, healed, changed, or evolved, and I didn't. The clone becomes a shield that preserves a nostalgic memory. So the Avril conspiracy isn't really about cloning, it's about fans struggling with a change, identity, and loss of a version of themselves tied to an era. It was easier to believe in Melissa than to confront our own growing up. There she is. I found the real Avril, guys. My bad. So if people think Avril being replaced by a lookalike is wild, the next celebrity conspiracy doesn't just replace people, it shapeshifts them. Because the next conspiracy on our list claims that some celebrities aren't human at all. They're reptilian shapeshifters. Yep, lizards in human suits, walking red carpets, doing press tours. The Reptilian conspiracy is most associated with David Icke, a former sports broadcaster turned conspiracy author, who in the 1990s claimed that many world leaders and celebrities are actually reptilian extraterrestrials in disguise. According to the theory, these reptilians shapeshift into human form, secretly run society, control governments, media, and entertainment, feed off of human energy or fear, and occasionally glitch on camera, revealing their true form. Basically, it's Men in Black meets National Enquirer, meets someone watched a nature documentary at 3 AM and overthought it, maybe with a brownie. But this theory took off because it taps into something deeper, the fear that people in power aren't like us, literally. The reptilian theory originally focused on politicians and royalty. Think presidents, prime ministers, the British royal family. But once the internet got involved, it expanded to Hollywood and music. Because if the Illuminati conspiracy is about how celebrities got power, the reptilian conspiracy is about what they truly are. And celebrities are the perfect target because they have influence, they have money, they have platforms, they seem larger than life, and we don't actually know them personally, so our brains fill the gaps. There are dozens of celebrities people claim are reptilians, including some very surprising names I will mention, but the most viral case in pop culture, Justin Bieber. A clip circulated online that people swear shows his eyes glitching into reptile form. This became the internet's favourite proof of the theory. We will look at that clip in a moment, because I'm not gonna lie, if I saw it for the first time at 1 AM alone with the lights off, yeah, I'd freak out too. So where did this theory even come from? Why did the Bieber clip explode? And what makes this particular conspiracy stick in people's brains? Let's get into the evidence, the psychology behind it, and the part where things get a little bit dark. Alright, let's talk about the moment that made the reptilian theory go mainstream in pop culture. The Justin Bieber lizard eyes clip. In the clip, his eyes appeared to glitch, shifting shape or colour in a way that looked not human. And look, I'm gonna be honest, if you watch the clip with creepy music at 2x zoom and you're already in a conspiracy rabbit hole, yeah, It looks freaky. This video spread like wildfire across YouTube, Reddit, and conspiracy circles, with people captioning it like, "Caught in 4K, Bieber's reptilian form exposed." First of all, nothing is caught in 4K in 2017, let's be real. People swore they saw him blink sideways, or that his pupils turned into slits. But here's what actually causes these lizard eyes glitches in videos. Video compression artifacts, low frame rate recording, lighting reflections, contact lenses, or literally just editing or a deep fake. It's the same effect that makes people look possessed when you pause a YouTube video at the wrong time sometimes. But even after debunks, people didn't let this theory go, because this clip felt like confirmation of a story they already loved. There is no evidence that reptilian shapeshifters exist. No leaked documents, no whistleblowers, no scales found in dressing rooms at the VMAs. These glitches are tech issues, not tail issues. But the theory survives because it taps into two things: our discomfort with extreme power and our desire for the explanations that feel bigger than reality. Sometimes believing they're not human feels easier than accepting some people just have more power, resources, and influence than others. And that imbalance feels unfair. So far we've covered clones and lizard shapeshifters, both very sci-fi conspiracy coded, but now we're moving into the darker, more controversial side of celebrity conspiracies. Because if the reptilian theory is about who celebrities secretly are, the next theory is about what they're accused of doing. Symbolism, rituals, dark imagery, award shows turning into satanic performances in the public eye. Every year without fail, at least one award show performance causes the internet to collectively clutch its pearls and ask, was that a performance or a ritual? And then we're back. Because despite the spooky edits TikTok ads, what artists see as theatre, some viewers interpret as satanic symbolism. So let's unpack how we got here, and why modern award shows have become ground zero for satanic accusations. In the 1980s and 90s, Western pop culture went through what's now called satanic panic, a moral meltdown where parents, politicians, and religious groups believed Satanism was secretly taking over music, TV, and schools. Rock, metal, Dungeons and Dragons, even Barbie at one point, all accused of turning kids to the devil. It was a cultural fear of anything dark, rebellious, or outside Christian norms, and although the panic eventually died down, the reflex didn't. Fast forward to today, new music genres, edgier visuals, and social media turned that old fear into viral conspiracy fuel. So the first one we're going to look at is Sam Smith and Kim Petras' 2023 Grammys Unholy performance. This one didn't just trend, it exploded. Sam Smith and Kim Petras performed their hit Unholy at the 2023 Grammys wearing dramatic costumes surrounded by red lighting, fire, and dancers in cages. Sam wore a devil-inspired outfit with a top hat, horns, and latex. Kim performed in a red gothic cathedral-style set with flames. Artists saw it as a bold theatrical performance. The internet, a large portion, called it satanic, or proof Hollywood worships the devil. Conservative commentators and religious influencers posted reaction videos saying the Grammys no longer hide their allegiance. Some went as far as claiming the performance was a public initiation or symbolic offering at a satanic awards ceremony. But here's the context missing from the panic. The song is literally called Unholy, so obviously the team leaned into a taboo visual theme. But Sam Smith wasn't the first artist to set off this kind of reaction, nor the biggest, because a couple of years earlier, one Gen Z icon became the poster child for satanic pop culture accusations, and he didn't wait for the Grammys to bring the devil to the stage. He took the devil to the bowl. Lil Nas X, the Montero era. When he released Montero, or Call Me By Your Name, in 2021, the internet detonated. Not just for the music, but for the visuals. Lil Nas X pole dances into hell, gives the devil a lap dance, then takes the devil's horns for himself. It was bold, provocative, theatrical, and designed to confront the conservative tropes head on. This wasn't the Grammys, but it massively fed into the Hollywood is satanic conspiracy trend. Why? Because Lil Nas X didn't just use devil imagery, he flipped the narrative. Conservatives and religious commentators accused him of promoting Satanism and corrupting youth. He responded by doubling down with humor, memes, and merch, including the viral Satan shoes. Lil Nas X wasn't summoning demons, he was reclaiming religious trauma, queerness, and shame through camp and satire. But to people already primed by satanic panic thinking, it looked like confirmation. Number 3, we're going back to Beyonce with misunderstood symbolism. Beyonce is one of the most frequently targeted artists in satanic celebrity conspiracies, especially when her performances include religious or spiritual imagery, goddess symbolism, glowing maternal iconography. A key example is Beyonce's 2017 Grammys performance while pregnant with twins. She appeared as a radiant, divine maternal figure, inspired largely by Oshan, a Yoruba goddess associated with femininity, fertility, and love. This performance was deeply rooted in African spirituality, empowerment, and motherhood. But instead of recognizing cultural symbolism, many online critics, especially from conservative or Western religious backgrounds, labeled it demonic, witchcraft, or satanic. This shows a pattern. Imagery outside of Euro-Christian norms is often misread as evil in Western media discourse. Beyonce wasn't summoning demons, she was paying homage to ancestry, spirituality, and the divine feminine. And the fact that cultural sacred imagery gets misinterpreted as satanic tells us more about the viewer's conditioning than the artist's intent. So, why do people see these performances as satanic? The symbol language is powerful. Red lights, horns, fire, gothic visuals. Artists use them for drama, not demons. But for viewers raised to fear those symbols, the reaction is emotional, not logical. We're still living with satanic reflexes even if we didn't grow up in the 80s/90s panic. A lot of parents, media, and church groups did. That fear got passed down like a trauma heirloom. Moral outrage gets views. On TikTok, a well-researched breakdown gets 20k views. A video saying, "This is a satanic ritual, wake up," gets millions. Outrage spreads faster than nuance, and it always has. Some performances do push the boundaries. Some use dark, religious, or taboo imagery intentionally to provoke, question, or entertain. That's art. It's allowed to be uncomfortable, but calling artists satanic for theatrical visuals, queer expression, or cultural spirituality, that's not analysis. That's panic dressed as commentary. And as we've seen across decades, satanic accusations often reveal more about society's fears than the performers themselves. So far, we've covered celebrities selling their soul, the Illuminati royal family, clones, lizard shapeshifters, and now celebrity rituals on national TV. But there is just one more conspiracy that ties all of them together. The idea that the music industry is a machine that chews artists up, controls them, and uses them as pawns. Not lizards, not demons, not clones, something a lot more human and a lot more uncomfortable. What if the truth, or at least the most believable version of it, isn't supernatural at all? Before we get into soul contracts and the metaphorical price of fame, we need to talk about a modern conspiracy that sits somewhere between business strategy and internet suspicion: industry plants. So what is an industry plant. The term industry plant gets thrown at any artist who becomes too successful too fast. An industry plant, in conspiracy terms, is believed to be an artist secretly chosen, funded, and built by labels, media, and execs, then marketed as if they came out of nowhere, organically. People point to fast-tracked fame, overnight virality, excessive promotion for a new artist, connections that appear out of nowhere, industry doors opening too easily. It's not about talent. It's about suspiciously smooth success. Because if we assume most artists grind for years, anyone who doesn't must be chosen. So why does this theory exist? Partly because the music industry does manufacture stars, not always secretly, but strategically. Labels invest in artists they believe will sell. They build them, brand them, polish them, and push them. Some examples are obvious. Disney, Nickelodeon, talent show winners, they're visibly industry built. But when a new artist appears with high-budget music videos, A-list features, award nominations, press coverage, brand deals, and a 3 million followers in a week launch, fans start asking, where did they come from? Who is backing this? And why them? Because organic success isn't usually that neat. Here's where the conspiracy meets reality. To climb the industry ladder, the one that leads to fame, awards, influence, an artist usually has to give something up. Not their soul in a candlelit ritual, but their autonomy. The first trade is often creative control. At the bottom of the ladder, artists write what they want. Higher up, they're told what's marketable, what sells, what image works. To rise, they swap a piece of themselves for access, and to viewers on the outside, that looks like a personality shift, or like the artist was replaced, which is how clone theories get oxygen. The industry plant theory is in a way the realistic version of the Illuminati myth. No demons, no rituals, just power, strategy, and the uncomfortable idea that fame isn't as earned as we're told. But here's where the conspiracy gets poetic, even spiritual, because the more people looked at how fame works, the more the industry plant concept evolved into something deeper. Not just you were chosen, but you traded something for it. Not always money, not always morals, sometimes pieces of yourself. That's where the idea of soul contracts comes in. So let's talk about soul contracts. Not the spooky demon standing in a circle kind, though that version definitely exists online, but the idea that fame isn't free, that artists don't just get discovered, they trade for it. The soul contract theory claims that to reach extreme fame, an artist must offer up something in exchange, whether spiritually, morally, or emotionally. Depending on who you ask, that cost could be privacy, identity, their authentic self, their art, relationships, control, or, in darker conspiracy circles, a sacrifice. For some believers, it's literal, a metaphysical pact with the universe or a higher force for fame and success. For others, it's symbolic. The industry forces artists to give up parts of themselves the higher they climb. But in both versions, the message is the same. Fame has a price. Let's be clear and respectful. Some corners of the internet take this theory into disturbing places, accusing artists of tragedy-based sacrifices or spreading narratives that are invasive and harmful. We're not doing that here. What is worth acknowledging is why this idea spread, because fans have repeatedly seen artists reach massive success right when their personal life falls apart. To some, that pattern looks supernatural. To others, it looks like the emotional toll of fame. The sacrifice concept is a story people use to make sense of how brutal the industry can be. So here's the part that hits harder than demons or rituals ever could. The soul contract idea resonates because it mirrors something real. The higher an artist climbs, the more they often lose pieces of themselves. This is the ladder metaphor we talked about earlier, each rung costing something. And when when you look at real stories from the industry, the soul-selling myth starts to feel like a poetic version of the truth. You don't need conspiracies to see the pattern. Artists have told us themselves. Kesha fought a long legal battle to regain control of her music and body of work. She said she felt trapped, controlled, and unable to make the art she wanted. JoJo, signed at 12, shelved in her teens, unable to release music for years due to label control. She later said she felt owned and silenced. Britney Spears, her conservatorship became one of the most public examples of an artist losing autonomy. She described feeling like she was performing for everyone but herself. Taylor Swift openly called out the sale of her masters, the ownership of her life's work, saying her art and identity were controlled without her consent. She had to re-record her entire catalogue to reclaim it. None of these stories require demons, rituals, or conspiracies. They are real, and they show that fame can take more from artists than it gives. The soul contract metaphor works because it feels true. Maybe no one stands at a crossroads with a pen and a shadowy figure. Maybe no one signs a contract in blood. But piece by piece, the industry often asks for the same things anyway. Your voice, your image, your privacy, your art, your childhood, your control, your joy. And if you give too many pieces away, you can get to the top and realize there isn't much of you left standing there. That's the haunting part, not the conspiracy, the reality. So whether you call it an industry plant, a soul contract, a sacrifice, or just how the business works, the core belief underneath is the same. Extreme fame isn't earned, it's exchanged. And that's why people cling to the supernatural versions, because the truth is far less glamorous and far more tragic. But there's one more layer to this entire celebrity conspiracy universe, and it's the one that actually affects fans the most today. Not the industry, not the Illuminati, not shapeshifters or rituals. It's us, the audience, the internet. So let's take a step back from the theories themselves and look at us. Why do we, as fans, as viewers, as a society, cling to celebrity conspiracies so obsessively? Because at this point, it's not really about clones, lizards, Illuminati triangles, or Grammy rituals. It's about why we want those things to be true. Parasocial attachments. We think that we know them. Celebrities aren't just people anymore. They're characters in our lives. We follow them, watch them, listen to them when we're happy, heartbroken, working out, spiraling, or lying face down on the floor in a crisis. We build emotional relationships with people who don't know we exist. That's called a parasocial relationship. So when a celebrity changes their music, their personality, their style, it feels personal. If the version of them we loved disappears, we look for explanations that protect how we felt. She wouldn't change. Something happened to her. That is how an artistic evolution becomes she was cloned, she sold her soul. Conspiracies become emotional coping mechanisms. So the conspiracy isn't about the celebrity at all. It's about protecting our own ego, comfort, and worldview. Celebrity conspiracies aren't just entertainment, though they are wildly entertaining. They give us a story to follow, a mystery to solve, a hero or villain to root for, a sense of control in a chaotic world. They turn fame into a narrative that we can understand because they're talented, lucky, and worked hard. It's just boring. Maybe the real conspiracy isn't that celebrities are hiding something. It's that we can't stand a world where they're just regular people who got really famous. So now that we've unmasked the theories, the psychology, and the industry behind them, there's only one thing left to do. Wrap this up with what we can take away from it. So, after all of that, the clones, the reptilians, the Illuminati, the Satanic Grammys, the soul contracts, and the psychology behind it all. What do we do with this information? Because none of this was really about triangles on album covers or who blinked weird on camera. It was about why we're so obsessed with turning celebrities into myths. And honestly, I get it. We love a story. We love a mystery. And celebrities are the perfect playground for our imagination. They are familiar enough that we think we know them, but distant enough that we can project anything onto them. They become our heroes, villains, cautionary tales. Maybe celebrities aren't angels, demons, clones, or lizards. Maybe they're just talented people who worked hard, got lucky, made some compromises, and ended up living under a microscope so intense it turns them into myths. And maybe the conspiracies aren't really about them at all. Maybe they're about us, trying to make sense of a world where some people become so famous that they don't feel real anymore. So we create stories to fill in the space between who they are and who we imagine them to be. If you enjoyed this deep dive into the wild world of celebrity conspiracies and you want more long-form explorations like this, make sure to subscribe, give this video a like, and comment which theory or mystery you want me to unravel next. I also do like to cover more true crime based things, real cases, just spooky things in general. If you like that stuff, do stick around. Also, apologies that I sounded like absolute shit the whole time. You won't see it, but I was fighting for my life during this video, but I'm gonna cut it out so you don't have to see that. Okay, you're welcome. Thank you for spending time with me. Stay safe, stay curious, and if you enjoyed, you know who to thank. Bye!